episode 623 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Tonight, gonna be talking all about AEW WrestleDream, which was tonight exclusively on pay-per-view. 3 titles changed hands. A lot of memorable, great matches and moments, and the legendary career of the American Dragon Bryan Danielson was on the line as he defended the AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley. Going to be talking everything WrestleDream right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello, wrestling fanatics. Welcome to 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I am Lance Brock, and AEW WrestleDream is now in the books. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Hopefully, everyone else listening right now also watched WrestleDream live on pay-per-view tonight. Just finished the media scrum just a few minutes ago, which this one actually ended kinda early. Tony Khan was not a part of tonight's media scrum. Was hosted by Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness. I'll get to why TK was not a part of it in a little bit as I recap tonight's pay-per-view. And without any further ado or wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Tonight, AEW WrestleDream was live from the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington. Our commentators for tonight: Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, and for the last 2 matches, good old JR Jim Ross. But we started things off tonight with the 0 Hour. Our panel for 0 Hour, Renee Paquette, RJ City, and the Last Outlaw, Jeff Jarrett, to kick things off on 0 Hour as far as the in-ring action goes. The Ring of Honor World Television Championship is up for grabs, and it is Brian Cage defeating Atlantis Jr. to become the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Pretty good match here. Cage getting some gold around his waist. Women's action up next. Harley Cameron representing the Outcasts, taking on Anna Jay. Good match here for 0 Hour. Anna Jay getting the win. The Acclaimed taking on the MXM collection, and they teased having somebody in their corner. I was thinking of someone that the MXM collection could actually have in their corner for this match tonight. But I was thinking about it. I said, I wonder if it could be him. And I thought about it a little more, and I said, probably not. I'd say it's highly unlikely that it will probably be him. So I'm not even going to talk about it on Good Morning Wrestling Fans. But I should have said it, because probably nobody's going to believe me. If I would have said it this morning on Good Morning Wrestling Fans, then I would have proof that I was actually right. And it was none other than Rico. Of course, has a history with Billy Gunn. Rico being in the corner of Chuck and Billy. And when the almost wedding took place with Eric Bischoff and the whole 3-minute warning thing. But it was Rico in the corner of the MXM collection tonight. The Acclaimed get the win, though. Defeat MXM. But I'm not sure if we are going to see Rico in AEW on a regular basis, or if this was just a one-time appearance. I guess we will just have to wait and see. The Conglomeration and the Outrunners team up in 8-man tag team action to defeat the Premier Athletes and the Dark Order. In the back now, the remarkable Renee Paquette is in the back with the AEW Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada. And then we see Kyle O'Reilly challenge him to a match for that title tonight at WrestleDream. But Okada turns him down and comes back, calls him a B-word, as he usually does. And that is it for 0 Hour. Now on to the main card of the WrestleDream pay-per-view. And we start things off. Switchblade Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page. In the beginning, Page is in control here. At one point, he hits a fall-away slam into the corner. Even gets a sleeper. And then spun him around, drove him right into the ground. White hits a dragon screw in the ropes. They go to the floor. Hangman hits a power bomb on the steel steps. Get back in the ring. White goes for the Blade Runner, but that is countered into the Deadeye. But it is not over yet. Hangman goes for the Buckshot Lariat, but that is countered into the Switchblade. 16 minutes, 30 seconds. Jay White getting the win. Pretty good match. I was actually kind of surprised Jay White got the win here. And I'll give this match 3.5 out of 5 ring bells. Next up on WrestleDream, the AEW Women's Championship is on the line. Willow Nightingale challenging against the AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May. Glamour Mariah May, I should say. May is in charge here around the beginning of the match, but Willow hits a pounce, gets some chops in. May gets a German suplex. Willow locks in an Indian deathlock. May hits the Mayday for a 2 count. Willow goes for the pounce once again, but May counters that with a headbutt. Willow hits a big clothesline, but just for a 2 count. Nightingale also hits a Death Valley driver into the corner. Then they are on the top rope. Mariah May hits a Hurricanrana from the top, then hits Storm Zero to defeat Willow Nightingale and retain the AEW Women's World Championship. 10 minutes, 51 seconds. Just my opinion here, but I thought this was a really good match. Both ladies, awesome job. Mariah May retaining. I'll give this one 3.5 out of 5. Ring bells also. And WrestleDream continues with the AEW TNT Championship on the line. We have Katsuyori Shibata defending against the scapegoat Jack Perry. Right off the bat, just about Perry bails to the floor. Perry very disrespectfully spits in the face of Shibata. Shibata hits the Kawada kicks. Then a little bit later on, Perry locks in the snare trap, and Shibata ends up getting a sleeper hold on Jack Perry, has it cinched in. He's on his back, but also has his shoulders to the mat, causing a pinfall. Jack Perry retains. 9 minutes, 24 seconds. Pretty good match here. I definitely enjoyed the match. I'll give it 3 out of 5 ring bells. After the match, Perry attacked Shibata. And then we have Daniel Garcia coming down to make the save. And then at this time, here at WrestleDream, we have the return of Maxwell, Jacob, Friedman, MJF, attacks Garcia, leaves him laying, and then it is another return, someone we haven't seen in some time, Adam Cole, baby. Cole makes his way to the ring, making the save for Daniel Garcia as MJF bails through the crowd. Next up, we have a 3-way match for the AEW International Championship. Is the AEW International Champion, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay, facing 2 challengers, Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet. All 3 men start battling it out to start this match off. There's some brawling on the floor. Takeshita hits a DDT on Ricochet onto the floor. There's a table set up. At one point in the ring, Takeshita hits a Blue Thunder Bomb onto Ricochet for a 2 count. Ricochet hits a very impressive shooting star press. Takeshita sneaks over, gets a cover on Ricochet, but only a 2 count. Takeshita puts Ricochet through the table that is at ringside. Ospreay has the match won, but Don Callis gets up from the commentary desk and pulls the referee out. And Ospreay gets his hands on Don Callis, and someone in a hoodie comes out, hits Ospreay in the back of the head with a screwdriver. And it is none other than Kyle Fletcher, someone who was supposed to be one of Will Ospreay's best friends. Takeshita pins Ospreay, getting the win. 20 minutes, 44 seconds, becoming the new AEW International Champion. I thought this was a very good match. All three guys here did an awesome job. Definitely interesting to see what happens next between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. I'll give this one 4 out of 5 ring bells. And in the back we see Jerry Lynn with freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Lynn tells him he's special and unique, and he tells him he could be the man. And Hook walks in and encourages Orange Cassidy. Then we get Prince Nana in the ring. And it is the return of Tacoma, Washington's own Swerve Strickland. But before Prince Nana brings Swerve out, he plugs his coffee, which you can get a coffee and shirt combo available on shopaew.com. Swerve, really good on the mic here, I thought. Now as a babyface once again. And we once again get MVP and Shelton Benjamin out, trying to convince Swerve to join them. Kind of looks like Swerve might, but he says Nana is family, and he don't turn his back on family. And Shelton and Swerve start to get into it here. MVP tries to hold Shelton back, tell him to wait till he gets paid for it, and then security comes down to break it up. No Bobby Lashley tonight. I know there's been quite a bit of talk about him maybe showing up in AEW soon, and it could still happen, but it did not happen tonight at WrestleDream. Our 2 out of 3 Falls Lucha match is next. Hologram taking on the Beast Mortos. This one was kind of just the last couple days added to the pay-per-view. Hologram goes up first, getting the first fall, and then is Mortos evening it up 1-1. And then Hologram gets the third fall, 16 minutes, 36 seconds. Good match. I wouldn't say anything real spectacular, but it was definitely worth watching. I'd give it 3 out of 5 ring bells. Next up, one I was looking forward to, Darby Allin and Brody King. This one started off really good, I thought. At one point on the floor, Brody puts the steps on Darby and then stands on him. And then they're on the top rope. Darby knocks Brody off to the steel steps and then hits the coffin drop. Looks like Brody King could possibly get counted out, but he beats the count just barely, about 9.9, but Darby Allin gets the win here. 12 minutes, 23 seconds. Awesome match. In my opinion, anyway. I'll give this one 3.5 out of 5 ring bells. Now it is time for the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, defending against Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. This is another one I was looking forward to. I thought it was good that on commentary they kept bringing up how on the second Dynamite, Private Party actually got a win over the Young Bucks. At one point here, they get the gin and juice for a 2 count. And even at one point in this match, Private Party hits the more bang for your buck on Nicholas. But Matthew gets in and breaks it up. The pinfall. And the Bucks hit the EVP trigger on Isaiah Cassidy, but kicks out at 2. They go for a second EVP trigger, but Cassidy ducks, and they bang their knees together. But they hit the TK driver to defeat Private Party and retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships. 15 minutes, 17 seconds. Good match. Wasn't really expecting Private Party to win the titles, but overall I'd say this was a entertaining match. I'll give it 3 out of 5 ring bells. The Ring of Honor World Championship match is next. The Ring of Honor World Champion Mark Briscoe defending against the Learning Tree, the Ocho, Chris Jericho, along with the Redwood Big Bill. Good match, and was looking forward to it. The Bad Apple Brian Keith ends up getting involved with a bat. Rocky Romero comes down to take care of Brian Keith. There's a table set up at ringside. Briscoe comes off the top rope, but into the code breaker for a 2 count. Jericho hits a Judas effect, and at one point, Jericho even hits the Jay Driller, the finishing move of Mark Briscoe's late brother Jay. But then Briscoe recovers, hits the Froggy Bow, and then gets his own Jay Driller. 15 minutes, 19 seconds to retain the Ring of Honor World Championship. Good, entertaining match. 3 out of 5 ring bells for me. Definitely enjoyed it. Even though I was wrong with my prediction this morning on Good Morning Wrestling Fans, I thought they were going to put the title on Chris Jericho again, but it was Mark Briscoe retaining. Like I said, even though I predicted Jericho to win, I was glad to see Briscoe retain. And now it is time for the main event of WrestleDream, the second WrestleDream pay-per-view event for the AEW World Championship. The American Dragon Bryan Danielson not only putting the AEW World Championship on the line, but also his career as a full-time wrestler against Jon Moxley. During the entrance, right off the bat, Moxley attacks Danielson. They brawl on the floor a little bit, use the camera cable to choke each other, Moxley hits Danielson with a pile driver on the Spanish announce table. Does not break, and they go back in, and it is Jon Moxley defeating Bryan Danielson 27 minutes, 18 seconds to become the new AEW World Champion. But then after the match, I expected if Danielson lost, maybe give him a standing ovation, and maybe on Dynamite Wednesday night, we would have a send-off, since this is supposedly the end of his full-time wrestling career. But instead, the Blackpool Combat Club got involved. They pull out another plastic bag. Wheeler Yuta comes down. And Darby Allin as well. And the BCC attack Darby Allin. Moxley gives Yuta the bag. First he looks conflicted, but then he ends up doing it over the head of Bryan Danielson. And the locker room empties. Jeff Jarrett, Private Party, Orange Cassidy, they come down. And finally the BCC retreats. They put Danielson on a stretcher as WrestleDream goes off the air. And it was probably the saddest ending to a pay-per-view in AEW history, as everybody, Jeff Jarrett, Orange Cassidy, Private Party, the rest of the locker room, well, not all of them, but a few, they just looked down, depressed. So that was AEW WrestleDream. Overall, I would say a solid pay-per-view tonight. Would I say it was one of the best AEW pay-per-views? Maybe not, but still very good. But when it comes to AEW pay-per-views, the bar is very high. And just like most of them, was a really good show. But I wouldn't quite put it on that list of the best AEW pay-per-views of all time, though. And the post-media scrum after I mentioned earlier that Tony Khan was not a part of it. Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness actually hosted it tonight. And the reason for that, as Tony Schiavone explained, was Tony Khan went to the hospital with Bryan Danielson. Just said he has more important things to take care of. And we start things off with the guests as usual. First is the AEW Women's World Champion, the Glamour Mariah May. And then Swerve Strickland. And the new AEW International Champion, Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita. And that was the press conference, or media scrum, I should say. Like I said, was shorter than it normally was. But that was mainly because Tony Khan was not a part of it. Usually, after the guests are on, he talks about the business and things of AEW and takes questions. So, not too late tonight, like I have been coming on here for some of the AEW pay-per-views. But I would recommend it. I'd say overall, as a pay-per-view, I might have already said that. I probably did. Have a bad memory with old age, but I'd give it 8 out of 10 ring bells overall. Sorry for repeating myself, but I hope everyone else enjoyed AEW WrestleDream tonight. And feel free to leave your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. Either right here on Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcast at. I will be back tomorrow morning for the Sunday episode of 360. Good morning, wrestling fans. Once again, I just want to thank everyone for coming and listening to this recap of AEW WrestleDream tonight. And also the email 360wrestlingpodcast at gmail.com. I'll talk to you all tomorrow, but until then, I am Lance and I am a wrestling fanatic.